Namaste and Happy New Year! So this is probably going to be the hardest video that I made so far because I'm going to attempt to summarize all of the schools of Indian philosophy in a single video. I've always heard people say that Hinduism is not just a religion but is a collection of philosophies. And honestly, I thought that was something Hindus just said to try to sound cool and open-minded. But over time, I've come to learn that it's true. Hinduism is not just based on a single text or prophet, but rather is a collection of philosophies from ancient India. There were 10 major schools of philosophy in ancient India, and over time these became known as the Dharmic religions. Indian philosophy can be divided into two groups, Astik and Nastik. Now in modern days, Astik means someone who is theist or believes in God, and Nastik means someone who is atheist or doesn't believe in God. But that isn't completely accurate. The original meaning of Astik is orthodox, or someone who believes in the authority of the Vedas, which are the ancient Hindu scriptures. And Nastik means heterodox, or someone who rejects the authority of the Vedas. So there were actually Astik schools that did not believe in the existence of God. The Sanskrit word for philosophy is darshan, which means sight or viewpoint. So each school of Indian philosophy is a unique viewpoint of the universe and our place in it. In ancient India, scholars of these various philosophies would hold debates, and then the winner of that debate would see their philosophy become the dominant philosophy of the time. The 6 Astik schools are Samkhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Mimamsa, and Vedanta. In modern day, these 6 schools are collectively known as Hinduism. The 4 Nastik schools are Jainism, Buddhism, Charvak, and Ajivik. Of these 4, Jainism and Buddhism continue as separate religions today. Please check out our other videos for an overview of Jainism and Buddhism. Just a quick note on Charvak and Ajivik. These 2 schools became extinct in ancient times, and we don't have any primary texts about these philosophies. So all we know about them is from cross-references in Hindu, Buddhist, and Jain scriptures. And it's quite possible that they were portrayed in a negative manner in those scriptures. But I'll share with you what we do know about them. Charvak is a school of materialism and believes that there's nothing supernatural or divine. Essentially, they believe that there's nothing wrong with just enjoying life. Ajivik is the school of fatalism and believes that everything that is bound to happen will happen. So essentially, they don't believe in any free will. They do believe in a permanent self, but not in karma or God. So now we'll talk about the 6 schools of Hinduism. Samkhya, school of spirit and matter. Samkhya is a dualist philosophy that sees the universe as 2 realities, Purush and Prakriti. The proponent of Samkhya was sage Kapil. Purush is the true self, or our soul, and Prakriti is matter, or nature. Prakriti is made of 3 gunas, or qualities, and these are Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Now there's no easy translation into English for these qualities, but roughly speaking, Sattva is purity, Rajas is passion, and Tamas is ignorance. The interaction of Purush and Prakriti keeps the universe going, but also keeps us bound in the material world. To attain liberation, one must recognize this and realize the true self. Yoga, school of self-awareness. Yoga is similar to Samkhya but takes a more theistic approach and involves God in the path to liberation. The proponent of yoga was sage Patanjali. Yoga teaches that one can use physical and mental techniques to reach a higher state of awareness and unite with the divine within us. If you practice yoga, then you're already following this ancient Hindu philosophy. But yoga is much more than physical exercise. Once the body is ready, you can embark on conquering the mind to reach a state of unity called samadhi. Nyaya, school of logic. Nyaya is likely the oldest school of logic in the world. The proponent of Nyaya was sage Gautam. Nyaya teaches that the way to end suffering and attain liberation is by gaining true knowledge. And there are 4 ways to do this through: perception, inference, comparison, and testimony. It also has strict criteria for whether an argument is valid or invalid. There is great focus on epistemology and the proper way of gaining knowledge. Nyaya is probably the Hindu school that is most similar to Buddhism, though unlike Buddhism, it does acknowledge the existence of a permanent self. Vaisheshika, school of atomic theory. Vaisheshika is likely the oldest school of atomic theory in the world. The proponent of Vaisheshika was sage Kanad. Vaisheshika teaches that everything can be reduced to an indivisible unit called a Parmanu, which is the Sanskrit word for atom, and that God brings consciousness to them. This school is similar to Nyaya, but only accepts perception and inference as valid sources of knowledge. It also teaches that each soul is a separate and sovereign unit of consciousness, but does not propose an underlying uniting consciousness. Mimamsa, school of ritualism. Mimamsa is the school of ritualism and believes that this is the way that one can reach heaven. The proponent of Mimamsa was sage Jaini. Mimamsa teaches that salvation can only be obtained by following instructions in the Vedas literally and doing fire rituals. They believe in the intrinsic validity of all cognition, which means that something is true unless you can prove it false. You can imagine that this made it very hard to argue with them. Vedanta, school of reflection. Vedanta is probably the school that's had the greatest impact on modern-day Hinduism. The most well-known proponent of the school is Adi Shankaracharya. Vedanta focuses on the Upanishads, which are found at the end of the Vedas, and places greater emphasis on meditation and connecting with the divinity within us, rather than doing rituals. There are three main branches that cover the spectrum from monism to dualism. Advaita represents monism, whose proponent was Adi Shankaracharya. Monism is like monotheism but goes further by saying that there is only God, and nothing apart from Him exists. Therefore, once I reach enlightenment, there is nothing separating me from God. Vishishta Advaita is somewhere in between monism and dualism, and its proponent was Ramanuj. In this branch, the goal is to unite with God, but we still retain our identity. Dvaita represents dualism, whose proponent was Madhav. Dualism is probably the branch of Hinduism that's closest to the Abrahamic faiths because it sees God as a king-like figure, and we are His subjects. The goal is to serve God, not to unite with Him. So hopefully now you have a better understanding of why Hinduism is a collection of philosophies and how that makes it such a unique religion. So thanks for watching, have a blessed day, and namaste.